Can you hear me? Quick sound and video check. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Just give me some signal in the comments, please. I'm just popping up some chat. Susanta says hi. What's up? Tushar, Kasik. What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Is everything working all right? Just give me a little signal in the chat. Okay, hey Chris, what's up? Victor, okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh God, thank you guys so much for coming on the live chat. I'm doing this after what, like 2 years now. I think the last one we did it when I was living in Dubai, and since then I haven't had the opportunity to do this. But I kid you not, my heart is pounding. If the mic were any closer, you could literally hear it. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna pop out some chats here. Hey Raisor, so good to be here. Aditya, what's up? Hasim, what's up? Vast CNC, oh, what's up? Thank you for being here. Okay, as you come in, I'd like to know that which part of the world are you joining in from? Hey Darren, so good to see you. Big smile. I can literally visualize you. As you join in, please drop in the comments that where are you joining in from. I'd love to know. I would love to know. Also, another thing that I'm very interested to know that are you a Power Query user interface guy or an M guy? So you can probably write that UI or M, UI or M. So many people, New York State, London. Okay, I'm gonna be in London in about what, 15 days. Bangladesh, Delhi, Bihar, my God, Belgium, Algeria, Chennai, Odisha, Pune. Okay, awesome, awesome. How's the weather? Weather is very, very cold, man. Arizona, USA, Austria. Wow, never been there. Sweden, nice, so nice. UI or M, UI or M, UI, UI, UI. My God, UI, excellent. The session is for you guys today. UI, excellent. M, okay. M, okay. DAX guy. All right. UI. Some people are asking questions about the book. I'm definitely going to answer a lot of questions. In fact, more than teaching you, of course, I'm going to teach you some nice tricks today. But more than that, the idea was to share some very interesting stories about the book. It's been in a long time writing. I'm going to share some very interesting stories about the book for sure. So UI, M, UI, M definitely. Where are you now? I am in Gurgaon, in near New Delhi. UI. Okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Another question that I have for you is that in case any one of you, I believe that there are going to be people in the chat who have already bought the book. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot. In case you can put down in the chat, what are one or a few things that you have really liked about the book? Please, in case you have bought the book already, please do leave a comment. In case you've started reading it, I believe you have. What did you like about the book? Maybe one or a few things that you'd like to do. I'm in Gurgaon. Okay. Okay. M. A lot of people. M. Nice. Nice. UI. Okay. Florida. I'm an M guy because of you. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. So kind of you. Okay. Anyone who has bought the book, Exact Pro BI, thank you for buying the book. But in case you can also mention, in case you've started to read the book, maybe from the start, from the middle, anywhere, what are the one or a few things that you've really liked about the book? You can also talk about the things that you have not liked in the book. That's also all right. Just bought the book, haven't opened it yet. Huh. The illustrations. Yeah, I think Darren, you left a comment that you have bought a hard copy. So I'll wait for a proper comment from your side. um, Thank you, Volcano, for the super chat. Awesome. Okay. Provide the link for the book. I'm sure one of my team members is going to do that. So just keep an eye on the chat. I got the book. Love the fact that you have provided a lot of screenshots. Yes. Yes, of course. Can I please make the hard copy of the book available in India? If it were up to me, I would literally be the salesman who travels to every one of his subscribers' houses, knock on the door, and force you to buy my book. But I'm sure that will also come very, very soon. Thank you. Okay. I like the structure and the approach. I'm a couple of chapters in. I love the projects. Thank you so much. Request you to provide the EPUB version. Hey, sure. So the EPUB version is going to be out along with Amazon's hard copy, but I believe that the PDF can be converted into an EPUB version very, very conveniently through websites. I don't know, but you can do that. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, before we begin the session for today, I decided that it would be really awesome if I could just give away, let's say, a few books by the end of this webinar. So in just about a second, you're going to see a link in the chat. In case you haven't bought the book, you can just go ahead and submit a form through which I'm going to collect your name, email, your country, and one very interesting question about Power Query. You have to think in reply to that question. Although the answer to that question doesn't really going to decide that whether you're going to win the lucky draw or not, but still it's an interesting question. So the link is going to come up in the chat. In fact, I can do that. Let me go ahead and grab that link. And you can go ahead and fill up the form. And I'm also going to discuss a few very interesting answers that people gave to the Power Query question that I have posted. So there goes the link. So please go ahead, fill up the link that I have just posted in the chat. And you could be the lucky one getting the book, not the hard copy as of yet, but the soft copy of the book by the end of this webinar. I will do the lucky draw live here on the chat. So yes, you could get it. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for buying the book. It truly means a lot. Okay. Awesome, awesome. I hope you've got the link, everybody, in the chat. Just 4 simple questions: your name, your email, your country, where are you joining in from, and one very interesting question about Power Query. So just anytime during the session, please post the answer to that 4 questions, and you will be all set for a lucky draw to be taken out by the end of this webinar. I'm so excited. Oh, that's bad. We are unable to take the payment at this time. Please try again or use a different payment method. Rodrigue, if you can write a mail to Pratik, spelled out as Pratik, Pratik at goodly.co.in, he will set you up and we will try and work around things. Started reading the book. Excellent, USA. Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so what is this session all about today? I hope everybody got the link. You're all set. You're filling up the forms, and I will take out the lucky draw by the end of this session. So what are we going to speak about? I actually wanted to talk about 3 or 4 things in today's session. First one is that in case you are a Power Query user interface guy, you've tried but you've not really succeeded at learning the M language. So I'm going to tell you a few approaches to get leveled up with the M language and in a structured way. That's part number one. That's the learning part of it. I'm also throughout my session, I'm also going to share some very interesting stories about things that happened when I was creating the book. Of course, there are going to be Q&As in the end, so you can ask me any kind of questions. And of course, in the end, finally, we are going to announce the 3 winners who win the prize of this lucky draw that we are having it. Cool. So talk a little bit about UI and M. That's part 1. I will share stories. That's part number 2. A Q&A, and we will announce the winners. Okay, let's start. Okay, so I'm going to be intermittently visiting the chat. So since I am working on the PC here, I would not be paying a lot of attention to the chat, but I'll be visiting every once in a while. So please hang tight. Let me flip out the screen and show this screen. Okay, I want another quick response from you guys. If you can take a look at my Power Query screen, give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see the Power Query screen. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can take a look at the Power Query screen. I can see it for myself, but is it streaming over there? Can you see it? I hope you can. All right. Now, okay, awesome. All right. So now the thing about M language is that Power Query's user interface is so good. It is so good that you can literally work on the user interface for years together and you would never have the chance to go ahead and tackle the M language. It only so happens that if you happen to work on a lot of unstructured data, especially which is not coming from SQL or some kind of database, and that is probably coming from Excel spreadsheets. Humans are managing and feeding the data and maintaining those Excel files. Then I am pretty sure you're going to be stuck with one or the other nasty problem, which is going to go beyond the user interface, and the clicks are not just going to support you, or it's going to become too cumbersome to be able to solve that kind of problem. So one recommendation that I have is that if you want to learn M, try to work with a bit of unstructured data coming from Excel, CSVs, PDFs, web for that matter, and then you will start to see problems cropping up in your queries and your data sets which are beyond the clicks of the user interface. So that's one recommendation in case you haven't hit the wall with the user interface yet. All right. Now, when you're working with Power Query, I would suggest that you start with small code. What do I mean by small code? Now, in Power Query, the smallest piece of code that you can write is going to be the custom column box that you create. So if you happen to go over to the Add Columns tab right up on the top, and if you take a look at the custom column right here, this custom column is going to be a provision for you to create every single row of the table. So we can just maybe create a new column here, and that whatever formula that you write here is going to be fed in every single row of the table. Now, what is cool about this particular thing is that if for some reason the formula returns an error, so if I just happen to write 3 dots, which is synonymous to creating an error, at the moment it's not working, but for now, let's just say if we happen to write, I don't know, 1 divided by 0, will that give me an error? Yeah, not, it doesn't give me an error, it gives me an infinity. But nevertheless, if you happen to just work here on something that produces an error, the error is going to be contained in every single row and it's not going to break your query. That is what is really cool about the custom column that you create. Otherwise, most people who write the custom column, most people who work with the formula bar or the advanced editor, and you make a little change in the formula bar and the query breaks, that's very, very horrifying. So you can obviously start with doing small operations in the custom column. And I'm going to show you 3 operations, okay? And we will graduate one step at a time. So my first example is something like this. So let's just say that you have salary, and I'm going to go to the Add Columns tab, make a custom column, and just let's say that I am creating, let's say, a new salary, and the new salary is going to be, let's say, I don't know, maybe 10% hike. So I will take the existing salary and multiply that with 1.1, which is a no-brainer. And I'm going to click on OK, and this is good to go. Now, even if, let's say, I multiply that with a letter, which is A, which is not obviously a number, so you can't really take a number and multiply with letter A, it's going to give you an error. And you can see that A was not recognized. Actually, let me just do that. And you can see that it actually produces an error because you can't really take a number and multiply that with a letter in Power Query. The two objects need to be the same, and that's why you have an error. But you're going to see that the error is contained in a single cell. It's just relieving to see that everything is not falling apart. Nevertheless, so I can just obviously say 1.1 and I can solve that particular problem. So that's my first step that I will recommend to a lot of people who are coming from the UI to learn Power Query. That's one. Now, once you're comfortable writing simple formulas, then you can actually graduate to writing a slightly more complicated formula. So let's just say that we can write an if function. So I can say something like, hey, I'd like to check if the department is marketing or sales. I want to write an or condition and an if condition. If the department is marketing or sales, then I want to take the salary and reduce it by, I don't know, like 20%, right? These guys did not do well, and anybody in the marketing or sales department is getting a pay cut. So I can actually go back to the same formula right here and modify that. So click on the gear icon. And now is the time when I start to write slightly longer functions. And even if this errors out, it's going to be okay because, hey, when you're creating a column and you have an error, the error is contained in a cell. So I'm going to write something like if the department is going to be marketing, and then I'm going to say or if the department is going to be, what is that? Sales. If either of these two conditions are true, then take the salary and you multiply that with 0.8, so 0.8 is that's what I will write. Else, I'm just going to write, just give the salary as usual. So that's my if condition. If I just zoom in a bit, if the department is marketing or department is sales, then salary, otherwise the same salary. So I'm going to click on OK, and that's what we get. And if you now take a look at everybody who was in the marketing team, they have received a pay cut. That's bad, but hey, we're just working with Power Query, and sales is also something like that. So these are, simple ways in which you can notch up your skills to go to the next level. The other very interesting opportunity of learning the M language is that you start playing around beyond primitive values. Now, what is a primitive value? Primitive value in Power Query simply means it's a number, it's a text, it's a date, it's an integer, that kind of stuff. So all of these values that you see, 50,000, HR, 30, all of these are primitive values. You have worked with all of these values a lot, I'm assuming, in Excel. So you can go beyond these values and you can start toying around with lists. Now let me show you one example. So if you actually go to, let's say, this particular query, query number 2, here is a roster. We have the name of the person, we have the role of the person and the shift of the person. And perhaps this is the roster for, let's say, 1 month. And I would like this roster to continue all through 2025. So I would want to start with, let's say, 1 Jan 2025. And then again for 1 Feb 2025, 1 March 2025. So every single row is going to be multiplied with 12. So the first row, that will be multiplied with 12 rows and you will have 12 months of data. And similarly, if you have 10 rows of data right here, we will have 120 rows of data. Well, how can you do that? I'm going to go over to the Add Columns tab and make a custom column. And in the custom column, remember what I want to produce is 12 months of data. So for now, I will just produce 12 numbers. So I will say 1.12. And this is a shorthand of creating a list in Excel, in Power Query. So you start with 1, go up till all the way up till 12. The 2 dots in between means expand it. And the curly brackets means it's a list. I'm going to call this as months. Months. And I'm going to click on OK, and that actually forms a list. Now, if you actually peek into the list, you're going to see that it's not really a date. It's actually a bunch of numbers right here. We have to convert this into a date. So what do we do is I'm just going to go right here and I'm going to say list.transform. I want to transform this particular list. And the list is right here. And the transformation is going to be take the 1 and convert it into a date. What date? It's going to be 1 Jan 2025. That's what I would want to write. So I can actually go ahead and concatenate the 1 with 2025. So I can say something like, hey, take every value, so each underscore, and I want to concatenate that with 25. So dash 25, or let's say the full 2025. And I'm hoping that should work. Let's just take a look. So I click on OK. And if I peek into this, it gives me an error. Now, worry not, the error is still contained into a single cell. I know what the error is, but let's investigate. So if I just actually click on the list right here, and if I click on the side of the error, it says that, hey, you were trying to concatenate a number, which is 1, with 2025, which actually dash 2025, which happens to be a text. So a number cannot be concatenated to a text. Well, if I actually convert the 1 into a text, then it'll work just fine. So if I just go back right here, I'm going to have to revise my formula, and I'm going to have to say something like, hey, the underscore meant that 1 or 2 or whatever, and I would want you to go ahead and convert that into a text. So text.from, start the bracket and close the bracket around the underscore, and I'm going to click on OK, and hopefully this should just work fine. So 1 2025, 2 2025, 3 2025, so on and so forth. Now people, if I were to convert these into dates, I hope they should just work fine. So if I were to just say something like date.from the entire 1 and concatenation of 2025 around this entire thing, click on OK, and that should give me a valid date. Now, for everybody who said you are comfortable with M, let me share a trick with you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the expand button. Let me just close on this box. So I'm going to click on the expand button, and one second. And I'll say that I want to expand to new rows. And you can see that obviously, if I just maybe take a look at the months column, here the data type is a generic ABC 1 to 3 type, like any type. But I wanted this to be a date because in the previous step, I did convert that to a date. So if you take a look at the formula, I did convert that to a date. But the problem is, when I made the column right here, I did not mention the type of the column. Now, you can see that at the moment, if I just happen to go ahead and write something like type date here, sure enough, this is going to be converted into a date, but the value in the column is a list. So no matter this is a date, but in the next step, when you happen to expand that, it is still going to come back to the normal any type. So what do we do about that? Well, what we can do is just go back to that added custom step. And this date type that we are declaring, since the values of this column are lists, we're going to declare that in a list. So I'm just going to say something like this. So, hey, the type is date, but the container for the date is going to be nothing but a list. Now, it actually gives you a list right here, which is fine. But when you expand the list in the next step, you're going to see that it keeps the type that you declared in the previous step. How awesome is that? That was like a one advanced trick for the M users who have been kind enough to spend time with us, but hey. So the point that I was trying to make is that small code, which is the custom column box right here, is a very, very safe space to start exploring different variations and formulas and if conditions and things like that. When we created a simple formula to the if formula to this particular formula, you're going to realize that we have actually moved from writing column references and multiplications and if conditions to actually doing some structured referencing. So here we have like a structured value right here. It's not anymore a primitive value, it's a structured value type. So that is a list, and we have actually worked with the list and we kind of get that answer. And then we obviously expand it and we have like 120 rows of data, one row for every single month. So suggestion number 1, please do not be hesitant to explore this little baby right here, which is the custom column box. All right, let's move on. Once you have mastered not really mastered, you have become a little more comfortable even if it means that you're creating a few errors in creating custom columns. The next recommendation that I have for most people is that you start learning structured values like lists and records and tables and things like that. These structured values are going to be super, super helpful in understanding the building blocks of the M language. So M language is not just like numbers and texts and other things. There are lists, there are tables, there are value types. So all of those are structured values, and you have to learn that. Now, in the book that I have written, in the first few chapters, I have put in a lot of images, thought, and attention for you to understand that how these structured values work and how can you manipulate them to kind of work with these values. In fact, I remember there's one story about this. I remember when I was just about to start writing my book, I reached out to Ken Pulse and I asked him for some advice that can you help me with some advice on writing the book. I want to write a book about Power Query and M. So I believe he just said two things. He said, write in the language that you would want to speak to the user, so the reader. So it should not feel like that it's an alienated book and you're like writing as a textbook, and it should be engaging. So write it in a language that you actually speak in. That was one. And the second big advice that really stuck in my mind was that please use pictures and illustrations. People just skip the text and they would want to go to the picture. So I became obsessed with putting pictures in the book. And I'm going to show you something very interesting. So at the start of writing the book journey, I was using PowerPoint. I was actually using the snipping tool to snip the image from the screen and then taking that image to PowerPoint and then adding the arrows and whatever in the picture and then carrying it out to the book. And all the images were like saved on slides one after the other. And once Ken saw that, so I believe he might have laughed at me, but he was kind enough to suggest that, hey, why don't you use a tool for this? Life is going to become so much easier. And he suggested me a tool called Snagit. So it's not a promotion, by the way, it's a fantastic tool. So I then bought Snagit exclusively for writing the book, and since then I've been using it. So I'm going to show you my Snagit editor that just contains a few of the images that I have taken in the course of the last 1.5 years for the book. So I hope I can just turn that streaming screen on and I will show you my Snagit editor. Where are you? Right here. So if you now take a look at this, you're going to see that how many photos are here. Like I literally, these are just a few, by the way, like I then cataloged them chapter by chapter and got a few revisions as well. So I was absolutely obsessed with taking photos. Even for chapters like list or accumulate, I created the entire presentation, took a photo of that and then put it inside of the book. So these are all the pictures that I took one by one, screen by screen, just to kind of put all of them down in the book. I can't see it, but hey, there were many of them. So that's the story about pictures. I have put in a lot of images in the book to make sure that even if you were traveling in the car or in a metro or something, and you just have the book and you don't have the laptop, you're not feeling lost that, hey, I just don't have anything to practice on. You can still read the book pretty much without practicing as well. But still, I wanted to give exercises for people to practice, so I have got the exercises as well. It's going to be a lot more beneficial if you have the book and also have the laptop along. It's going to have a much more impact. But in case you're just wanting to read the book without any constraints of not being able to be near with the laptop or the computer, you can still read the book very, very conveniently. So that was my idea. Nevertheless, let's move on. So what do we have next? All right. Once you have done the custom column, then you move on to the formula bar, which is right here. Now this is where things get a little, if I can say, scary. So let's just say that I create a new step and anything happens in this step. So let's just say I just write something, the entire query breaks right here. Not the entire query, but at least that particular step actually breaks. The previous step is still working, but that actually breaks right here. So this is where you enter some dangerous category of formula writing in the M language. But the formula bar is one such place where you have a lot of control over what you're doing in that particular step. So that's the second place that I would want you to master. Now, one thing that I will recommend is that take a lot of hint from the user interface. And the user interface is going to give you some ideas and some suggestions as to how am I building the code and how can you improvise on that code. Let me show you an example. So let's just say that we would like to take the department, and for this department column, I'd like to do two things. The first thing that I would like to do with this department column is that I want to concatenate, actually I want to have it lowercase, so all of this is into lowercase, that's my first need. And I want to concatenate the word DEPT and a little dash. So department and then marketing in lowercase, department and finance in lowercase, so on and so forth. How do we go about it? Let me just try a few things, fail at it, and then try to make sense of it, okay? So watch me do this. I click on the department, and assuming that I'm the user interface guy, here is how I would go about doing it. So I'm going to click on the department. I'm going to go over to the transform tab. In the transform tab, where is format? Here, and I'm going to say that, hey, why don't you just do a lowercase? So I click on the lowercase, and this becomes lowercase. So far so good, no problems whatsoever. Now, once you've got the lowercase step added, let me just delete this step actually. So once you've got the lowercase step added right here, it's very, very essential that if you start reading the formula, even if you don't understand it, it's fine, but you start reading the formula. And you can see that this is the name of the column, which is right here. That's part number one. There are two very important things to notice. One is that you have to notice the functions that Power Query using. The other very, very important thing that a lot of people miss out is that you have to notice that where the formula breaks. What do I mean by that? If you take a look at this entire piece of the code right here, it actually breaks at two different places. So the first break is here. That means the first input is finished right here. Then the second break is here. The second input is finished right here. And after that, there is a third input. So if you notice where the formula is providing those commas, the comma simply means there's a break in the formula and then you enter the next argument. There's a break in the formula and then you enter the next argument. So if you notice these breaks in the formulas, the first thing to notice is that no matter what I write in the formula, if I happen to delete these commas, it's going to tank. The second thing is that this formula generally accepts three parts. Whatever this is the first part, which is the name of the column, the formula, text.lower, and the data type, which is nothing but a text right here. So now once we have figured this out, I also want to concatenate the department here. So I'm just going to maybe try to make a fool out of myself. So I'll say, hey, I want to do department, DEPT, write a dash, close the dash, and just concatenate that. This is how you would do it in Excel. And as a naive user, this is also what I would try to do it. So text.lower, of course, is lowering the text, which is fine. I'm concatenating along with something, and that's also fine, but this actually tanks. This doesn't work. Well, okay. Now, assume that I don't know the M language and I don't know how to fix it. Let me try something else. So I'm going to get rid of this step once again. Now, remember that on this particular column, we wanted to do two things. We wanted to lower the text, and we wanted to concatenate the DEPT kind of text. That was one. So I click on this once again, and I try to do the other thing. So I go to the transform tab, and I'm going to say that, hey, this time, where are you? Format, here, add a prefix. So I click on the prefix. It asks me, hey, what's your prefix? I'm going to say department is my prefix, department and dash. I click on OK, and that's what I get. Now, the code is the same, but also slightly different. If you take a look at the code now, it still has that department, which is the text value right here, the name of the column. It doesn't quite have the text.lower here. There is something here. By the intuition, I can understand that department underscore is the concatenated text because that's what I wrote. And is the concatenation symbol. I know that from Excel. An underscore would probably mean the very text itself. That gives me some clue. So if I just were to, I'm just going to now toy around, right? So if I were to just go ahead and delete the underscore and delete the and, what is going to be left in this entire column is going to be nothing but the department word only. So now I can verify that the and was for concatenation and the underscore was the very text. Okay, cool. I can just go ahead and put that back in. So and the underscore. Okay, all right. And I get the thing back. Now that I know that the underscore is meaning this very word in every single row, I can just go ahead and do the text.lower function around this. So I can say, hey, the text.lower, which I lost it a step ago, text.lower, is now going to be wrapped in the underscore. And this is going to now do the thing. Now, this would ideally would have been done in 2 steps, would be we were able to do in 1 single step. That makes your query a little more efficient. And of course, less steps are generally better. All right. And that is how I would want you to tinker around with the formula bar, because I cannot imagine to tell you that how many times have I done this in the past and I have just hit the roadblock and I've failed. And every single time that I've done that, it's brought to me some or the other kind of learning. So I suggest that you play around with the formula bar a lot. I did mention a few things, tinker and change the formula to try to take a look at what the UI is creating, take hints from the UI, and please notice that where the formula is breaking. So it's breaking here, that's the first part, it's breaking here, that's the second part, and it's breaking, and then finally that's the third part. So once you understand that how many parts are there, in case you accidentally delete a comma, you're going to be, a bit more conscious that, hey, I had a comma here and I have to put it back to restore the formula. So that is my second recommendation. So from the small code, which is the custom column box, you then come to the formula bar, which is the big code, and you start tinkering around. And the key to do that is that you toy around with the user interface, take hints from the user interface, and then start to make changes in your formula bar. All right. With this, I would like to bring to you a very, very important learning that I only wish somebody told me. Now, I did not have a name to it until last year, but then I went to London. It was not because of going to London, but because I was speaking at the Global Excel Summit, and I wanted to start my presentation in a unique way. So I was sitting at the breakfast table and I was thinking that, hey, how am I going to start my presentation? Is it going to be, hey, everyone, thanks for having me. I'm so-and-so, and I want to talk about so-and-so topic. So I wanted to start in a very, very unique way. So I kept thinking that morning that, how the hell am I going to start my presentation? And as I was having my food that very morning in the hotel, it struck me that why don't I make something to do with food? And I've written that story in the book as well, the exact story, which you can read it. But I came up with feed Power Query what it eats, or feed what Power Query eats, something like that. Feed what Power Query eats. That's what the statement is. And I'll also show you one comment that I received from Jordan Goldmeyer. So I will put that on the screen and you can see that now. So this is just a photo of Jordan's comment many months ago. And he was also there at the Global Excel Summit, and he saw my presentation. And this idea, simple idea of feeding Power Query what it wants to eat is so powerful to understand how the M language works that I will demonstrate that to you in just a second. And since a lot of people resonated with this comment, feed Power Query what it eats, that I had to put this in the book. I had to write about it in the book. So you're going to see that not just one time at the start of the book, but many places in the book. I feel that I've written it enough that it's annoying by the end of it, but I wanted to make a point. Nevertheless, let me explain to you briefly what does this mean by feed what Power Query eats. Let me show you. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to come back to Power Query and I'm going to show you something. So there are about 700 functions in the M language, and every function has a bracket and you feed something inside of the function and it happens to work. So here is what I mean. So let's just say that if I happen to write one function, which is, let's say, list.transform, FORM. So list.transform, if you take a look at the function is telling you, what do I want to eat? The function says, for the first argument, I would like to eat a list. So in the first argument that I happen to write here, if you feed anything other than a list, this is going to break. This will obviously not work. So whatever you write here, howsoever long you write here, if it doesn't produce a list, Power Query doesn't like it, it vomits, and it doesn't really work. So that's the idea. And then you put in a comma, and in the second part, it says, hey, on the list that you have provided in the first part, what transformation would you like to do? But you just can't write the transformation howsoever you would want it. It has to come in as a function. So all of these terminologies, what is a function? How do you create one function? All of that, I have explained that in the book, the eaches and the underscore. But the central idea of working with the M language is, please people, feed Power Query what it eats. Simple as that. So if you are looking at the IntelliSense and you're not feeding Power Query what's asking you for, the formula is not bound to work no matter what. This applies to Python, this applies to any language, right? It applies to DAX, but simple idea is that just feed the formula language what it is asking you. Take another example, for instance. So if I happen to go ahead and write table.add columns function here, so table.add column, and if you take a look, the formula is asking you preliminary 3 inputs. So it's asking you, hey, give me a table to eat, then give me the new column, and the new column, just don't give me in any other shape, but I would want to have the new column in the form of a text. Most likely in the most raw form possible, you are going to write the name of the column in the inverted commas. That's what a text means. There are other ways as well, but hey, for simplicity reasons. And then whatever column that you want to generate, howsoever you want to calculate the values of the column, that should come in as a function. So these are the critical things that you have to understand while working with the M language. You have to feed what Power Query wants to eat. And that was a big idea when I was learning Power Query. It just did not strike. It just did not. I kept on making mistakes, and this was such a big one that I realized it much later. I was able to formally give it a name much later. I had it subconsciously in the mind, but I'm so glad that I formally gave it a funny name. Nevertheless, I'm glad I did. Okay, let's see what else do I have here. Okay, now let me just go back to the streaming screen. Okay, cool. Let me delete the error. Errors don't look nice. Okay, so once you have graduated from small code, which is creating columns, custom columns right here on the right, whatever these columns are, you've learned how do you work with lists, records, tables, and things like that. Then, and you've also kind of started to tweak around with the formula bar, then it's the time when you start to play with the advanced editor. I mean, you can play in between as well, but ideally when you have become more comfortable with the formula bar, then you actually go over and play around with the advanced editor. Let me show you how this looks like. So obviously this starts to look scary because right now you're not taking a look at any one step in the query, you're taking a look at the entire query. And once you take a look at all of this, this looks scary because you have all the possible kind of brackets. You have the usual parentheses, the curly parentheses, the square parentheses, you have the hashes, and you have the quotation marks and whatnot, the underscores and the eaches and all of that. This obviously looks dense and scary, doesn't look friendly, but this is where is the ultimate playground of writing the M language. This provides you freedom beyond the user interface, and you can use that. I would recommend when you're working with the advanced editor, you have to learn the semantics of the M language, like let in the in statements, because you don't have to worry about the let and the in statements when you're working with the steps to create that. But once you're working with the advanced editor, you do have to worry about the let and the in statements, right? That's one. You have to worry about giving names of the steps. You do have to worry about that, hey, every single step is going to be ending with a comma, but not the last one. You have to worry about the semantics of writing the M language, which are also there in the book, but those are the kind of things that you have to worry about when you're starting writing in this free environment, which is just pure play code. Think of this as a VBA editor for Power Query. So, and once you become comfortable with that, I'm hoping you'll be able to nudge towards writing better M and creating better and more robust queries and things like that. So that leads me towards the end of the session. And let me just actually go back and take a look at if there are any comments for me. All right. Damu, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey. Any comments? Understanding parameters itself is hard to understand. Why do you feel it hard to understand? Parameters are like variables. You can feed anything inside of that. Okay, there are a lot of people who have questions about the book. Let me answer questions about the hard copy, okay? How can we get the hard copy in Canada? I have heard that Canadian people can travel to the US, and if you can go to the US, you can get the hard copy, but that's not the answer what you're looking for. I know that. So, I frankly do not have the answer to that question, but I am working with Bill Jelen, who happens to be the publisher of the book, to make the hard copy available as soon as possible for everybody. Although it says that the hard copy is going to be available in June if you take a look at the Amazon page, but I'm just doing my best to make it available in India, in Europe, in Canada as soon as possible before that deadline. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just trying. So that was one. Okay, let me... Same question for Belgium, okay? Yeah, so I just said that. If you can travel to the US, sure enough. How many of you here are going to be attending the Global Excel Summit, which is happening next month from 4th to 6th February in London? How many of you here are going to be there in London? Adik, you have a question about trying to build the logic, and I will just explain that in a second. How many of you are going to be in London, or you are already in the UK and you plan to attend the Global Excel Summit? I'm going to be there. I would love to meet any one of you who is planning to be at the Global Excel Summit. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm trying. It's live. I understand that. I am trying something special. I have a masterclass on the M language, 1 full day. I have a stage session and I'm speaking about DAX. And on top of that, I'm trying something special. That's it. If I'm not able to do it, don't quote me on that, but I'm trying very hard. Okay. Okay, let's... damn, where is that? Okay. So Aditya asks a question. As a beginner, how should one try to build the logic? I'm going to tell you my experience. When I started working with Power Query's user interface, everything seemed like a puzzle to me. So the data was pivoted or unpivoted, or it was multi-columnar and you had to kind of shape the data. As you work with more Power Query solutions, slowly and gradually, your mind will start to see patterns. Your mind will not start to see blocks of data. Your mind will start to think like objects, like a row object or a list object or multi-columnar objects and things like that. You just have to expose your mind enough to multiple solutions that people have done and the way that they have transformed the data, that thing just clicks in your mind. It's just a game of patience. There is no, I don't know, like a injection that you get and you kind of inject that and you start seeing patterns on your own. You just have to wait, do it enough, and then your mind will start to see these patterns. And that's how you kind of build a problem solving mindset. So sorry if that was not a very appreciated answer, but that's the truth. Okay, Rishikesh says, wow, now I understood how the code works when you broke the code in three different parts, like the logic of feeding M code what at once. Yes, true. Once I personally understood that, like once I started to read the IntelliSense and match to what I have fed in the formula, it obviously made so sense. And I was just cursing myself that why did I not find the simple thing before? But hey, it just takes time. We are all humans. So, and this thing is something that I've stressed a lot in the book, a lot. Like I have gone to the extents of, believe it or not, when you're reading the book and I am helping you build through a custom logic, or we are trying to build a code, that's a difficult problem. In the middle of the code, I almost try to anticipate your question, and I'm going to take a detour, and we'll take a detour, we'll travel, and I'll show you something to only show you that feed what Power Query wants to eat, and then come back to the topic once again. So I hope you like these detours in the book. Okay, awesome, guys. Let me just I think the form is pinned up on the top. If you can just feed your entries in the form, and we will then declare who's going to be the winner of this contest. Let me just take more questions. Okay, what is that comment? I enjoyed the tip you showed the other day where you embedded multiple new columns and create a custom column window. A similar technique for as a cross apply for joins. Yeah, sure. I haven't written about joins in the book because I believe that a lot of people already know joins, like left outer and stuff like that. But yeah, joins can be a very interesting example as well, for sure. Okay, I want to take a question. Can you explain why list management and queries are so much faster than table queries? Here is something that I have experienced, but I have never really spoken about this particular concept on any of my YouTube videos so far. There is a concept called streaming in Power Query. Anybody who wants to improve the performance of their queries should watch out for streaming. Let me help you understand what is streaming in the simplest way possible. Think of a dam. The dam is Power Query. And underneath the dam, the water is flowing, and the water is nothing but your dirty data. So the dam comes in the contact with the data only when the data touches the dam, the water touches the dam. It cleans it up and the water flows. So Power Query is like a streaming kind of software. It just, like, the data is coming in, it cleans, and it pushes to the modeling engine. It comes in, it cleans, it pushes to the modeling engine. If you have done anything in the query which stops this stream and does something else, then the query breaks. Now, this English statement is not at all clear in technical terms. So let me give you a bit more insight about what kind of operations are these that are likely to break the streaming of the data. Think of that. So let's just say that your data is 1,000,000 rows and you want to sort the data. Now for Power Query to be able to sort the data, it has to literally collect the data near the dam, and it has to see that are you alphabetically on the top or are you alphabetically at the bottom to be able to sort it. So till the time it reads up all the data, it's not going to be able to do that sorting. And only then it will be able to push the data inside of the model if you want to sort it. So any operation which is forcing to read all the data and then do the transformation is going to tank the speed of your query, generally speaking. The other thing that I have generally seen which blocks the speed of the query is pivoting, not unpivoting, pivoting of the data, which is creating columns. Because imagine if you have a column and the column has many values, like hundreds and thousands of values at the bottom, and you want to pick up those values, you want to create columns. So columns in the queries are visible. Rows may not be visible because the limit is about 1,000 rows of data, but you can see the columns. So if you're asking Power Query, hey, Power Query, take my rows and build columns, then Power Query will have to read all the rows, even the unique possible values, and then create columns. So that's where you're kind of breaking the stream. Unfortunately, I know this just by experience of working with Power Query. I can figure it out intuitively that if the stream is breaking or not, but I have not seen a tool that helps me identify the stream is breaking. If you know of that tool, please mention that in the comments. It's going to be so helpful for everybody. So that's my answer to your short question. All right. Okay. KB is leaving. Bye, KB. Take care. Okay. Thank you, Justin, for all the love. I'm going to go ahead and start to work a bit on the responses that I have received. Let's just take a look at a few responses that we have received for the giveaway, the book giveaway. Just give me one quick second, everybody. All right, where are you? Okay. All right, I have a lot of people here. Okay, nice. I've got that up on the screen. Let's take a look at a few interesting answers right here. So I'm gonna maybe share my streaming screen. I hope you can take a look at it. So let me zoom in so that you guys can read. There were 5 questions. I've hidden the emails of people, just the name, the country, and if Power Query could speak, what is the first thing that it would say to you every single morning? So use me, not the interface. That's a good one, actually. Good morning, Emster. Start the engines. List or accumulate. Happy morning. That was a good one. Let's solve the damn problem. Who's going to win? How many people have replied here? I'm going to leave a link to this and you can read the interesting answers here. My God, how many people are there? Oh my God. There are 262 people who have left their comments here. Actually 261 because first is the headers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take these names, put it up in a raffle, and let's just see who wins this. So I've got this little nice website here, which is what? Picker Wheel. And we'll open up Excel. And in Excel, we are going to generate a list of 262 numbers. So that's a nice sequence function. So I'll say sequence. And that is 262 to generate the count. We get that. Control C. 261, isn't it? Let me just check once again. What was that? So 262, yeah. So 262, we've got that right. Control C on that. Let's just go to the tool. And where is that? Right here. So let's just see. Input text here. Picker Wheel. Okay. Here, import inputs. Just gonna paste all these numbers here, add the list, that, and let's just spin. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. It's a nice clicky sound that also comes. Number 20, who's that? Let's just take a look. Number 20. So let's just hide this choice and let's just go take a look at who's that lucky winner at the 20th position. 20th position. Who is that? That is going to be Jay Jaiswal from India. Ready to clean, transform, and load some data magic today. Awesome. Congratulations, Jay. You've just won the PDF copy of my book. Thank you so much. Let's go spin this up once again. So, where are you, the website? Come on, show up. Okay, so let's just spin it again. The second one, we've got 3 winners. Let's just take a look at who gets the second one. Number 12. Awesome. So let's take a look at who is on the 12th position. That is again Sanket from India. We just have a lot of population in India. I'm not just being biased, please. So solve the damn problem. Who's going to win? Sanket, congratulations. We have your email ID. If you've put that down correctly, you're going to get the copy of the ebook very, very soon. Congratulations. Let's just take a look at the final winner. I'm really hoping that this person is not from India. Okay, let's just be fair. Okay, let's just take a look. Number 153. Okay, let's take a look at 153. Who's that person? 153. That is from South Africa. How do you say your name? A Fiwe? A Hiwe, if P is silent. I don't know. Sorry about that. But please accept my sincere congratulations on winning the book. What does your comment say? Good morning. Let's get some messy data cleaned. Awesome. So thank you so much, everybody, for participating in today's live webinar. I was very, very nervous. I'm just doing it after a very, very long time, and I did not know that how this is going to go, but I'm happy that we are nearly towards the end. If you haven't really bought the book, then please go ahead and buy it. You're going to love it. And this is going to be awesome. Let me just take a last few questions and then we are good to go. Congratulations. Thank you. Indeed, messed up somewhat. Thank you. Congratulations to the winners. Okay, that's been it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for all the love and the support that you have given me. I'm very, very happy with how the book has turned out. In 6 or 7 days, I think it's been 8 days. We launched it on the 3rd of the night. We've been able to sell 850 copies or so far. In 8 days, like about 100 copies every single day. And this is just the PDF. The hard copy is yet to come out. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all the love and the support that you've given to this channel. And I am just not alone. You see me, but there's an entire team working behind. There is Mehdi, who takes care of all the video production. There is Prateek, who grinds this. In fact, our automation systems just broke on the second day when people started to buy. There were so many orders that the entire systems broke. And we literally had to build parallel systems to deliver the book on time immediately as you buy it, as the other system was broken. So it was a nightmare, but it was a good problem to solve. Thank you so much. And thank you to my team. Good night or good morning. Have a good rest of the day. And I will see you sometime again on the other side, probably in London.